Flux, from Latin fluxus, flowing, loose, slack. In modern usage, a continuous succession of changes of flows. In its verb form, to flow, to melt, to make fluid, to fuse. George Maciunas composed the Fluxus Manifesto in 1963 by collaging and juxtaposing dictionary entries for flux alongside his own interjections. His desire to promote a revolutionary flood and tide in art. Fluxus refers to an international movement of artists, composers, and writers working during the 1960s and 70s. The group's members are famous for their creation of ephemeral and genre-blurring intermedia artworks, their performance happenings, and the international networks they forged. A beautiful illustration of a flux kit in the previous slide, containing, among other things, filmed strips, playing cards, matches, postcards, and a pair. One artist puts it this way: Fluxus should be interdisciplinary, simple, interactive, and humorous. Put your finger in there. Aware of its futurist forefathers' fascist proclivities, Fluxus undercuts its own militancy with hilarity. Use these matches to destroy all art. Keep last match for this match. Fluxus shares with its artistic sibling, conceptual art, a desire to decommoditize the art object, to render it ephemeral, impermanent, and to conflate art with life. An artwork needs not exist in the physical world at all, but instead it may be realized entirely of the mind of the viewer, like this work by Yoko Ono. Imagine 1,000 suns in the sky at the same time. Let them shine for 1 hour, then let them gradually melt into the sky. Make one tuna fish sandwich and eat. Fluxus members conceived of the Eternal Network as a transgeographic community of artists sending and sharing art objects by way of the Postal Service and other planned performances and shows. Robert Filliou and George Brecht call it an international center of permanent creation, a network through which to play games, invent and disinvent objects, correspond with the humble and mighty, contrive suspense poems, and compile anthologies of misunderstandings. The network also hints at another purpose: to make artists realize that they are part of social collectivities, that their artistic practice is a consequence of collective experimentation and influence. Hence, a pun in the name, Flux Us in flux, a preoccupation with collectivity, community, and networks infiltrate the art by way of diagrams of the movement's participants, charts that map their relationships to other artists, to practices, to ideas. In this, Nam June Paik's Fluxus Island, we encounter blueprints for the building of conceptual countries.
So what does this mean here? What exactly do we propose to do? Special Collections is home to ATCA, Alternative Traditions in the Contemporary Arts, a name for a collection of collections that obscures the specific and often confuses those with an interest. What is it? Fluxus, individuals forming communities represented by their work, which is collaborative, organic, humorous. Individuals who get libraried, described to a certain extent, but broken down into discrete units that are intellectually organized and listed. From the chaos and coincidence of the diagrams and maps depicting the movement's participants, their work is now stored in boxes, which can often appear just as chaotic. We do all we can to make people aware of what we have, how they can use it, and try to eliminate the intimidation that working with these materials can create. But how do we fully communicate what's in these boxes? That these aren't just papers, but objects and artifacts, art pieces and evidence. How do we communicate what this is? It's from the Artifacts of the Eternal Networks collection, but that alone only places it in a limited context. There are boxes within boxes, carefully stored now and preserved, in ways that some of their creators may have been disinterested in at the time these objects were made. As a digital project between the library and the studio, however, we have the chance to do something new with these things. We have a chance to use digital tools to visualize the networks that add life and history to material that resists simple description. We can take the contents of a box and distribute them again in ways similar to their original creation, bring networks to life by drawing out and enhancing the points of intersection between the individuals whose work fills these boxes. So, we can end in a manner similar to Yoko Ono's instructions to imagine 1,000 suns. We can imagine the thousands of ways in which we can pursue the history of an art movement, the history of the individuals who created it, something that not only preserves their work, but allows it to continue in new ways.